Hey, and welcome back to Module 2. We're going to be diving into emotional balance. So, quick little review from the last lesson of some of the things that we went over just to refresh your memory. So, in our last module on a thriving mindset, we went over everything from why we feel anxious, some of the underlying root causes behind our anxiety. We talked about the importance of a holistic mind, body, and soul approach when it comes to creating thriving mental well being for ourselves. We talked about the importance of transforming information into knowledge and knowledge into embodied wisdom to really see transformation. And we do that through application of what we learn and then repetition of it, doing it again and again and again until it really sticks. We talked about how anxiety is an innocent messenger. It's something that's here for us, not against us, if we can decode its deeper meaning. We talked about emotional truth versus factual truth and how thoughts aren't facts. We shared that you are not your thoughts, that you are the thinker of your thoughts. It's a huge mindset shift to really cultivate. And then we talked about how to develop the most important skill when it comes to your inner healing and personal development journey into thriving mental well being, and that is self awareness, this skill of interoception, which you started to practice with your mind, body, heart check ins of checking in what's going in my body, what's going on in my mind and my heart, with my sensations, with my thoughts, and with my emotions, my feelings. And today we're going to be diving even deeper into emotional balance. So I'll just take a sec to pull up the slides and then we will get started. All right, so diving right in, emotional balance module 2. So first we have to understand why our natural emotional or anti-anxiety instincts are actually making us feel so much worse. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts that we can get into in creating sustainable and holistic mental well-being with tools that you're going to have for the rest of your life, not just in now in this chapter, how to change and transform your relationship to your mind, your emotions, but these are going to be tools and mindset shifts that are going to really stick with you. They're going to be in your toolkit for the rest of your life, without a doubt. So, why our anti anxiety instincts are actually making us feel worse? They're making us more anxious. So, there's one huge reason why we've been struggling so much with anxiety. And this goes for all of our emotions, with worry, with fear, with frustration, with resentment, all the emotional experiences. And that is our instinct to run away from it, our instinct to get rid of it, to push it away, to avoid it. And when we find ourselves in pushing those experiences away, trying to get rid of it, this is really only making our anxiety bigger. This feeds the anxiety. There's this beautiful just statement here: what we resist persists, and what we feel, we heal. And that's what we're going to be talking about today: how to be with your emotions, how to move through them in a healthy, effective, and sustainable way, how to make it more quick, more. I've got a helicopter going on. So there's actually nothing wrong with feeling anxious. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad. There's nothing wrong with feeling angry or afraid or any other human experience that might come up for you. These are all natural human responses. And in fact, as we learned in our last lesson, these are messengers. They're here to show us something, to teach us something. So, the way that we transform our anxiety or any other human emotion is actually to do the opposite of our natural instinct to push it away and actually learn to befriend it. We find the control with anxiety not by pushing it away, by trying to get rid of it or trying to even overcome it. We find the control and freedom that we're looking for in our minds with our emotions by actually inviting these things in. And this is super counterintuitive now. And you might be saying, like, but Bindi, it feels awful when I'm in this like anxiety, when I'm in this, my heart is racing, I'm feeling hot, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling worried. I get it. I've been there. I've been there countless times, and I still sometimes feel this way. So I know how hard it can feel when you're there. But what makes it so much worse, right, is creating all these emotions inside of our emotions. So it's like this: the resistance towards these emotions, our rejection of the anxiety, and the fear and shame that we hold these emotions in is actually what keeps us stuck in them. So it's like this: when we have big emotional experiences, often only about 10% of the intensity that we feel in that moment is our actual original emotion. Worried about time, worried about finances, feeling sad about a relationship, That's 10% of the emotional intensity that we feel. 90% of the intensity that we feel emotionally isn't actually the actual anxiety. It's the emotions that we hold that anxiety in. It's the shame that we hold that anxiety in, the fear of the anxiety, right? It's the sadness about feeling it, or the shame, or the blame, or the self-criticism that we hold towards that anxiety that actually keeps us stuck in it. It's our resistance to feeling the anxiety that is 90% of our emotional intensity when we have big emotional experiences. And so the key here is to not reject these things. The key is to expand our heart so vast and so wide, to embrace all parts of our human nature, which is sadness and joy, which is gratitude and frustration, which is anxiety and calm. It's all of it. And so it's about welcoming these things in, because when we welcome it in, we can actually transmute and transform and move through those emotions so much more quickly, so much more ease is there, and so much more effectively, just like a newborn child, right? If we look at children, if you have children in your life, some of you are mothers, if you have children in your life, or you have nieces or nephews or friends with kids, then you see that these kids have big emotional experiences. What is the difference between a child and an adult? Is that an adult will feel sadness bubble up, will push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down until we one day explode and we have this like massive meltdown, or we either implode and we go into a deep depression, we isolate ourselves, we like go into a very dark, difficult space, or we explode and we get angry, we get reactive, we say things we don't mean, we behave in a way that we're not proud of. We've all been there. It's okay. We don't have to shame ourselves for this. And the difference between the adult and the child is that the child, sadness comes up, tears come. There's about 5-10 minutes of them having a big emotional reaction. And then you watch that child, the tears stop, life moves on. They pick up a spoon, they find it fascinating, they're smiling, they're joyful, and they're back to homeostasis. So we want to be more like children. We want to be able to accept, to welcome in all parts of our humanity, our anger, our sadness, our fear, our joy, our gratitude, all of it, not push it down, not numb ourselves, not shame ourselves for feeling this way or trying to get rid of it. Welcome it in, let it move through your body, transform it, and then let it go and move on with your life. So how do we actually do that in practice? So I've shared here inside of Thrive my signature aware method. And this is really an emotional processing tool that you're going to have at your access for the rest of your life. So when limiting beliefs pop up, patterns that don't really serve you, big emotions, difficult things from the past that you want to work through and process past traumas, this right here is the method that we are going to come back to again and again and again and refine until we really embody these teachings. So this is actually, we started in our last module, we started with the A of the aware method, and we're going to continue on with that from the thriving mindset module into this emotional balance module. So before we get into it, I always have to say that healing is not as simple as just a 5-step process. Emotions are complex and layered, but having some sort of practice or a process that can help us build our emotional immunity, as it were, our resilience towards the ups and downs of life, then our inner world can feel more balanced, more stable as we go through those experiences. And with this aware method, each of these elements, which we'll go through in a sec, is useful on its own. Like you'll see, oh, I've learned this. This is all going to be familiar to you already, but this is piecing it all together into a holistic kind of step-by-step process that is very holistic, very all-encompassing, and incredibly effective. One of the tools on their own is good, it's helpful, but we miss the bigger picture. So you'll see what I mean when we tie it all together. Okay, so A stands for awareness. So self-awareness, we kind of touched on this in our last session. So awareness is developing this skill called interoception, the ability to observe your mind, observe the sensations in your body, observe your emotions, your thoughts without judging it, right? What was mindfulness? Mindfulness and awareness are synonyms, by the way. Mindfulness is the continual and non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. That's what we're doing here. Noticing what's happening, what's unfolding within us, what's unfolding around us, without judging it, without criticizing it, without needing to change it, just being aware of it. So we do that by noticing and labeling, right? We have our mind, body, heart check-ins that we learned the last time. And we realize that you are not your thoughts and that thoughts aren't facts. These are the key kind of pillars of this awareness step. So whenever you're in a big emotional experience, the very first thing is to become aware. What's going on here? Right? To be curious, what's happening in my body? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking? Just observing it without judgment. Okay, so what we're going to dive into in this lesson is wisdom. So the second stage, once we become aware of what we're feeling, now we want to see what's the wisdom beneath what we're feeling. So what's the hidden wisdom or the deeper message? What's the buried treasure hidden beneath the surface of that emotion? What might that emotion be trying to tell you? What might it be trying to show you or teach you? What is it revealing about what you need? And how can you respond to yourself to meet that need that is being revealed to you? So let's go deeper into what that actually looks like, this wisdom piece in practice. So we need to learn the skill of how to decode the deeper message and find the hidden wisdom hidden beneath the surface of our emotions. So let's imagine for a sec that every emotion is a messenger. We touched on this in our last module. Then, if that's the case, then there's wisdom behind everything that we feel. And by decoding the message behind our anxiety, we can actually arrive at its deeper wisdom of what it's trying to bring our attention to. So, acknowledging and feeling our emotions gives us an opportunity to learn more about what we're feeling, learn more, be curious about where they're coming from and why we might be experiencing it, and what we can actually do to then respond to our needs, to rebalance, to realign, to come back into that homeostasis. Now, our tendency is that often when difficult emotion shows up, we tend to avoid them or reject them. But by looking at our emotions through a learning lens, not a shaming lens, where we're criticizing, we're judging what we feel, we think we shouldn't be feeling it. And rather, we get curious. Oh, interesting that I'm feeling that. Oh, that's interesting that I'm still concerned about that. What might this mean for me? When we embrace that mindset, then we can discover something deeper, more meaningful, and even useful about our emotions, where we can use our emotions as a window into ourself, a window into our consciousness to understand ourselves more deeply, understand our values, understand our needs, and be able to respond to that. So for me, this is a much more empowering mindset, is to say that these emotions are showing up here for you. They're here to teach you something. So what does that actually look like in practice? And by the way, I don't know if you can hear this. There's a temple right beside my house, and they're doing ceremony. So if you hear a bell, there's like beautiful prayers, and I smell incense. It's like wafting into my space. It's really beautiful. Okay, so the wisdom questions to ask yourself. Now, this can be a simple in the moment, right? As we're learning this aware method, this can be an in the moment, just checking in with yourself, asking yourself these types of questions. Or if you really wanted to take it to the next level, right? If you have the time, if you have the space, and if you like journaling, then this is a very powerful journaling exercise. There's something so potent about what's going on in our minds, traveling down into our heart, through our arm, into our hand, into the pen, and onto paper, and being able to see what's going on within our consciousness versus just staying in our mind thinking about it. There's a power of writing it down and seeing it. It's like giving it a voice, giving it externalization so we can see it and do something about it. So we ask ourselves these questions. First is the awareness, right? Aware, right? That's step one. What are you feeling right now? And then we check in. Well, where do you feel that in your body? How does that feel? What are the sensations of it? Okay. So let's say earlier this week, I was feeling a bit anxious about time. I was feeling like, the old belief, this story that I've had for quite some time that I'm still working on is there's never enough time. Okay. And so when I check in, okay, what are you feeling? I was feeling a little bit like I was feeling tight in my chest, a little bit heart racing. And I just had to check in with myself. Okay, what are you feeling right now? You're feeling anxious about time. Okay, that's all right. And where do you feel that in your body? It showed up in my chest, heart racing, felt a little bit tight, felt a little bit hot, felt a little bit irritable, like this. So that's question one, aware. The next question we want to ask ourselves is, well, okay, what's your relationship with that feeling? And what do you tend to do when that feeling comes up? So I checked in with myself and I noticed that when I feel anxious about time, I typically resist that feeling. I judge myself for it, or I compare myself to others. More often, I'll distract myself in those moments. Oh, procrastinate, Instagram, do the Instagram scroll. You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure that you can relate. And so in this way, we check in, okay, what do I tend to do when this emotion comes up? What is it that I'm distracting myself from? Then we ask ourselves, okay, well, imagine for a sec, if this feeling was here for you, what purpose might it be trying to serve? What might this feeling want for you, even if it's not trying to show it to you in the most effective way? And so this is the most powerful question in here, I think, is to really ask ourselves, let's imagine for a sec, if this anxiety was here for you, what might it want for you? And so I checked in about the whole time situation. And I checked in and I asked, okay, well, what does this worry about time want to show me? If it was here for me, what does it want for me? Well, this anxiety about time wanted me to use my time wisely. It wanted me to have the ability to spend more times on things that truly matter to me, being with family, being with my partner, being with my kitties, going to the beach. And so this becomes a very powerful question. Then we ask, okay, well, what's the hidden message or the wisdom behind this feeling? What might it be trying to show me? And so it was trying to show me, I realized, just how precious time is. That was the message. The message was time is so precious, and using my time wisely is so important. I want to use my time for more self-care, more time with loved ones. The hidden message was, hey girl, take time for yourself. Don't push yourself so hard. And it taught me time with loved ones is really important to me. And so then we ask our final question, and that is, with that wisdom in mind, what is it that you need right now? What's the underlying need here that isn't being met that you can, right here, right now, meet for yourself? And how can you respond to that need? And so for me, I immediately realized, I need a deep breath. I need to be gentle with myself. I need to take the weekend off, and I need to not take on as much for the next week. And then I was able to really process holistically, okay, this is the wisdom. So I invite you to, right here, right now, pause this video and just flow through that with yourself, whether it's just in your mind, a little reflection, whether you write it down, if there was an emotion, big emotion that came up for you this week, you're feeling really sad, you were feeling really irritable, you're feeling really anxious about something, and just flow through this and see if you can extract the hidden wisdom hidden beneath the surface of that emotion. So that's all for this lesson, and I'll see you back in our next lesson where we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this AWARE method. I'll see you there.